everyone, and welcome to Practically Writing with your host, Sarah Berman. Today we are going to be talking about my personal opinion, top 10 worst parts about being a writer. Now, any of you who follow me on Facebook or Twitter know that I post a lot of things that are kind of snarky, a little bit funny, and encouraging. So this isn't like, me venting about being a writer. It's more of a real taste of what's coming. Don't forget to stay tuned till the end and get your Sarah News. That's right, Sarah News. I do have a few announcements, so stay tuned. Before we get started on the top 10, I have been swamped doing 2 conventions / conferences. Okay, it was 3. It was totally 3. Less than 2 weeks apart has been an uphill battle for the disorganized part of me. It probably doesn't help that a lot of people who were involved in the Writers' Conference are people that I have to communicate with rather heavily in planning this convention, or our presence in the convention. It's just been really busy, lots of deadlines, things that are just way too close together, and so I've been spinning like a top. Without further ado, or a don't, let's get into the top 10. Number 10! The number 10 worst thing about being a writer is that it is all on you. If the writing is going to get done, it is because you do it. If things are going to be organized so you can get them done, it is because you do it. You can hire people or browbeat people into helping you, but even that is you doing it. There is nothing that gets done for you as a writer unless you do it, or initiate it, or pay somebody. So it's all on you. That is a lot of pressure, especially considering like 90% of the jobs in the world are, showing up to work and having somebody essentially tell you exactly what to do all day long. Pressure. No pressure. Pressure. Number 9. Despite the fact that it is all on you, everybody has an opinion or advice or something to tell you that somehow makes it sound like you're doing it wrong. Okay, maybe not all of them make it sound like you're doing it wrong, but way too many. In a way, it's a lot like parenting. Everybody is going to tell you how you can do it better, and most of them have no clue what they're talking about. Fortunately, about half of these people keep their mouths shut. Yay! Practice your smile and nod. Okay, number 8. There we go. Support is so hard to get. Usually, most authors end up with like 1, maybe 2 people who really support them. And if they're really lucky, those people even bother to know something about what the author is going through. But a lot of the times you have people who are just like, yay, I have no idea what you're doing, but okay. It's not that they don't want to support you, it's that their support seems unsupportive. I think my favorite of these people are the ones who are constantly trying to give you a break. Come on and hang out. You need a break from your writing. Yeah, I've had 3 breaks from my writing this week and I haven't gotten anything done. It's only Tuesday. To those people, just say no. Number 7. If you manage to find support, particularly in the realm of people who are willing to beta read or otherwise give you feedback that you don't have to fork out a couple $100s for, the follow through on that is generally pretty agonizing. And it has nothing to do with how good a writer people are. I have seen excellent writers who cannot get their beta readers to respond. I have seen people who are, they have plot holes, they have errors, and they can get beta readers to rave about them. I have no idea what is going on. Follow through for your supportive cast. Roulette. It's like roulette. Always bet on red. Right? Maybe that's my problem. So when you do get people who are willing to support you, who are willing to read the things that you have written, and who are willing to give you feedback on that, send them a gift basket. Seriously. Number 6. Follow through is a pain until it isn't. And then it's a pain. I actually have a few acquaintances who I totally cherish, who are significantly more well-known authors than the general authors. The common thread that I've noticed with these authors is that they are really gun-shy about anybody asking them for things. I first realized this when I was getting a book blurb for Too Wyrd. I realized that, walking, even, virtually online or whatever, walking up to somebody who is, even kind of famous or kind of well known, and be like, will you read my book and give me a blurb? They're just like, again. I tried to make it as low pressure as possible, and yay, got some responses, so that was good. But I can only imagine, once you get to a certain level of quote-unquote fame, people really want your name attached to them in some way. Once you get to a certain level, then people do things like that. And the thing is, I am, barely a blip on the fame radar, right? Oh, nope, she's a rock. That's me. I'm the rock in somebody's, fame sonar. But I have gotten requests for people to just, random people who message me and ask me to read their, 190,000 word thing. And I'm like, 190,000? That is a hefty read for somebody that I've never heard of, have no idea what their writing skill is. I don't get them very often, but I still get them. I can only imagine what happens to people who actually have a relatively significant following. Getting people involved in your stuff is really hard to do until it's not, and then there's this other thing that happens. I would like to be burdened by that, by the way. Just, throwing that out there. It may be a pain, but I will accept that burden. Make me famous. Number 5. Edits are necessary. I'm one of those people who just gets the English language. I understand things about the English language. I understand sentence structure. I know what past participle means. I know these things. I am very good with punctuation. However, there is zero chance that I am ever going to have a book that does not require somebody else to edit it. I've talked about this before. You cannot see your own errors. It's just not possible. Your brain sits there and goes, we are bored with reading this thing 5 or 6 times. Let's skip over that. If you want a good editor, you're forking over a couple $100. There's just no doubt about that. Sometimes you're even pushing a K, depending on your word count, of course. It's totally worth it, totally expensive, and totally frustrating, but it's a thing, and it's a necessary thing. So don't argue. Just get an editor. Because things like editing are necessary, you either have to go with a traditional publisher who is large enough to have editors, and yes, small house publishers, it's a crapshoot as to whether or not they edit. That's okay though. But if you self-publish, you're definitely going to hire an editor. So you have these additional expenses. This means gonna have a side gig. So number 4, side gigs are a virtual must. Unless you're independently wealthy, and then I don't like you no more. Buy my book. Side gigs for authors tend to either be the day job. That means you have a job and then you write in your spare time. Totally legit. Other people have the author support side gigs, which include things like being a PA, a personal assistant, or VPA, virtual personal assistant, helping with marketing, editing. Editing is huge for authors. Some authors do cover design or graphic design or teaser design. It kind of depends on the individual's skill set. I don't know a single author who does not have some sort of side gig. Even the mostly famous ones, yeah. Still got a side gig. Number 3. When you have your side gig, particularly if it's not a traditional day job, you are probably going to undersell yourself. It's true. Breaking into these side gigs, it's all about reputation. And a lot of people start out, by underpricing their stuff just to get some clients, just to get some feedback, just to get some rep. That's fine. But a lot of people also don't know when to raise their prices. Totally guilty, by the way. Totally guilty. Unfortunately, that means that the struggle kind of continues longer. Try not to undersell yourself. If you've got good work, value it. Value it, and other people will value it too. Maybe. The worst that can happen is, you price it a little too high, and then, you give people a 50% discount or something. That always makes people feel better. Number 2, the second worst part about being an author. When you don't undersell yourself, there's pretty much only one kind of feedback you're going to get, because the vocal ones are the whiners. Why do you cost so much? 'Cause my stuff is valuable. Well, you should just give it to me for free. And of course, the all-time favorite, you should do it for exposure. People die of exposure. That's not even a joke. I cannot tell you how many people I know who have either undersold themselves or worked so much for exposure that they essentially had to give up their career in order to pay the bills. That is not a bonus. No amount of exposure is going to solve the fact that, you've been evicted from your house because you couldn't pay rent, or you starved to death because you couldn't buy food. Okay, those are really extreme examples, but exposure is, all fine and dandy, but you need to put less emphasis on exposure and more emphasis on client feedback, as in paid client feedback. Oh yeah. Because you've been so patient. The number 1 worst part about being a writer is you just can't give it up. Just can't give it up. Just can't give it up. That's right. I have never met an author who can stop writing. It's an addiction, and there's no AA for it. They don't have Writers Anonymous. People are just like, well, then write your book. That does not help. I have an illness, and it requires putting pen to paper or words on a screen or some variation therein. It's a sickness, and I'm down with the sickness. I think I just totally dated myself. So embrace it. Suffer gladly. This is why so many authors have, issues with loneliness and depression and, this, that, and the other thing. Because it is very hard. It is pretty unforgiving. Every stage has its issues. Writers have been historically introverted, secluded, depressed, alcoholic. There's a reason why. Don't do that. Don't become an alcoholic. Just keep writing. Okay, let me know what you think of my top 10 worst parts about being an author, and whether or not I missed something big. I probably did, because, you know, there's only 10. And sometimes writing is really, really sucky. Most of the time it's great, but sometimes it's really sucky. So let me know what your number one worst part about being a writer is and how you deal with that. Leave it in the comments below. Make sure you like it. Make sure you ring the bell for more videos. Make sure you check out my links. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. You can still get your copies of Too Wyrd and Fluffy Bunny, books 1 and 2 of the Runespells series, on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You can also check out the rest of my books on my website. You can follow me on Patreon for secret goodies. And, in case you thought I forgot, Sarah knows news. I don't know what a symbol for news would be. This weekend is Constellation, which is a local sci-fi fantasy con. I will be running the table for the Nebraska Writers Guild, so I will be there most of the weekend, but be sure to stop by if you are in the area and check out the other writers. We have quite a few really great authors in the Nebraska Writers Guild, and several of them are planning on being there this weekend, so check it out, check it out. There's only a few more weeks for you to get in on the quarterly patron swag giveaway. You have to be a paid patron of my page by the 1st of May in order to be eligible to win. It is a random drawing. Make sure you stay tuned for future videos to find out what's being given away this quarter. What could it be? And make sure to pledge your donation on my Patreon page before the 1st. I have a few other shorts that are going to be coming out soon, so stay tuned to find out more about those. I better get back to writing. See y'all soon. You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round, round, round. Sarah knows news. Just can't give it up. 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 'Cause your brain hates you.